This is the thing. Who you choose to hang around with, who you choose to have in your posse, is exactly who you become. Choose your posse wisely. I'm here to tell you that putting yourself first is not selfish, it's revolutionary. Welcome to the Ayurvedic Woman podcast, empowering women to light their lives on fire through Ayurveda, yoga, spirituality, and fitness. I'm going to say this one last time. Stop apologizing. Women do this all the time. They apologize for everything. What are you feeling sorry about? Stop. If you do not put yourself first, nothing else happens. Stop putting everybody in front of you and put yourself first so that those people that you need to care for and take care of can be cared for because you have put yourself as the priority. Jai Bhagwan, Women Warriors, and welcome to the new Ayurvedic Woman podcast. This is very exciting. Have my sister and my co-host here, Ms. Prajna Madhavi. Welcome.
Hey.
Here we are. Oh my God, so good. So good. This is our first new podcast recording, so we're actually pretty damn excited about it. And you should be too. Coming at you with a whole bunch of new stuff. So what we decided to do with forming this new podcast was to start out with a weekly wellness check-in. And the purpose of the weekly wellness check-in is to see how both of us are doing and how, what's the pulse on the earth, what's going on with people, and to check in what is happening on the physical side, on the energetic side, mental, emotional, what is our level of consciousness, and, of course, the spiritual side. So how are things going with you?
Ooh, it's this week has been, the weather obviously is having a bit of an impact, I think, on both of us a little bit.
God,
Struggle's a little real today.
Oh yeah, struggle was very real at the gym this morning.
Yeah.
Very, very real.
Just how the seasonal, the wetness and the humidity and all of that.
Yeah.
The lack of sun.
Yes.
But this week has been, kind of ups and downs. First of the week started out, been in the yard a lot.
Nice.
This week was in the yard a ton.
Of which, for the record, Prajna has a killer garden. So a lot of weeds.
A lot of weeds. A lot of weeds. Back's feeling it a little bit. I was in the yard a lot this week. And it was great just to get that out in nature and being one, trying to make sure I try to not wear shoes a lot. And
Nice.
Just get some grounding. And
It feels good to get in the dirt, doesn't
yes,
it? Yeah.
It really does. Oh, that's one of my favorite things. Pulling weeds even without gloves and just, it's awesome.
Getting in your nails.
Yep.
The whole
Get in
thing.
your nails.
That's it.
It's okay to get some dirt.
And I get to do the drive-bys her house to steal lettuce from the front yard. So
A little rabbit.
it's just all of a sudden it's gone.
Had some emotional stuff come up.
Sure.
Working on some scars, I think, that were coming up this week.
Aren't we all?
Dealing with that a bit. But feeling overall just strong. Like I can do this. I can take it on. And how about you?
Like you, the struggle has been real. It's interesting because last week with the sun out, and it's just so interesting. It always reconnects me back to those basic Ayurvedic concepts with just being connected to nature and how when the sun is out, I'm out. Mm-hmm. When it gets a little rainy, of which for the record, I'm not complaining because in Boise, it can get to be 90 degrees overnight. We don't really have a spring, it goes from winter, all of a sudden it drops off a cliff and then it's 90 degrees and you're like, what in the actual fuck?
Yeah.
So I'm not going to complain about the rain, and we need the moisture, and it's beautiful because it's making everything green, which I really love. But the, getting up in the morning has been a little bit more difficult. But the good news is that this week, as you know, Michael and I, we had to run a yoga teacher training. So with doing the yoga teacher training, I had to get up and get my workout in before the 8 a.m. start for the program. So I was forced to get up. The good news is that the sun comes up early around here, So at 5:30, you can already see the sunrise, which is really beautiful in this part of the country, and specifically in Boise. I will completely and utterly admit that today I phoned my workout in. I completely phoned it in. I showed up. So you and I and Holly, we were there and we did the thing. Holly is our other colleague who practices Krav Maga with us, and we work out together as part of this Woman Warrior Academy. And she just came back from a trip. So It was really the first time all of us had been back together in the gym together for like the past week. But I thought to myself this morning, okay, you know what? It's that thing that Jocko Willink says, that the days that you don't want to do anything, the days that you don't want to, those are the days that count. And I have that voice in my head when the alarm goes off and I'm like, oh man, today's not the day. And it's like, this is the day that counts. Yes. So showed up. I know, exactly. Thank you, Jocko. So we're, so we did it.
And it would not have been as easy if I didn't have you two saying, yep, I'll be there.
Yep.
Because if it was just on me, I would have been like,
sleepy. Exactly. Well, and that once again reinforces the super duper importance of having a team. You got to have a posse. Because even at the end of the workout, when you and Holly were like, okay, what do you want to do? And I'm like, I'm just going to go do abs. And then the two of you are like, I'm going to get on the elliptical. I'm like, fuck it. All right, I'll get on the elliptical with you guys. And we did it. We made it happen. So it was good.
It's kind of like the days when you're like, let's do a little battle rope. And I'm just like,
you want to do battle rope? No, but I'm going to do it anyway. So, well, we hope also, love to hear from those of you that are listening what your weekly wellness check-in is.
Yes.
What's going on with you? What are you dealing with mentally, emotionally, physically? Is there some struggle that's happening there? What can we do to help you out? Mm-hmm. On the spiritual plane, I think things are really good right now. I feel really connected to the Dharma, to what's, the work it is that we're doing in the world. So I feel good on that plane. How about you?
This time of year is pretty easy for me because I'm out of school and I'm a high school teacher, all of you, at least for now. And
we're getting her out. We have a date.
Anyone who asks me this time of year, like, how you doing? I'm like, right now I'm really good because I can just wake up and do what I want during the day. So
makes a big difference.
Yeah. So that really helps the spirituality. Mm-hmm. Like I can get up and I can meditate and I can chant and I don't have to, on that schedule. Yeah.
There's a little bit more flow.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But again, this week had some bumps in the road with, some scars that have come up and
absolutely
let it move through and get it out and just let it be what it's going to be.
Well, it's also good, that those things still come up, but being able to gauge our progress with it, how it doesn't linger as long. People are always like, well, how do you know if, you've healed a samskara or something like that? And it's like, well, it really has to do with time, and the idea of how long is this, when this thing comes up, does it stay for weeks and months now, or is it more like days, and then sometimes it just gets down to hours, and slowly that is starting to become healed. So I applaud. I applaud you.
Friends like you that I can call and be like, talk me down,
get me off the cliff. Hey, and you've done it for me. Yeah. You've done it for me. So I get it.
Yeah.
Once again, the reason why you have to have a posse. Uh-huh. So
very important.
Yep.
All right.
Well, today we're diving into some stuff.
Yeah.
The topic we plan to discuss today is this idea in Ayurveda known as the natural flow of the doshic tide, and the stages of accumulation, aggravation, and alleviation. And actually not only just applying it to our bodies, but applying it to life, which I think is really an important piece to it. So did you want to start, or you want me to talk a little bit about the process?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay.
Talk a little bit about the process and then we'll.
So in Ayurveda, there are these 3 stages that we call the natural flow of the doshic tide, and they are known as accumulation, aggravation, and alleviation. And what it really is how the potential for a disease or a state of dis-ease, that's where disease comes from, unfolds. And so in all of us, for those of you who have been listening to this podcast for a while, we have these three doshas. We have Vata, Pitta, and Kapha, and each of them have very specific functions of what they are responsible for. Vata is responsible for communication, transportation, and Pitta is responsible for our digestion and metabolism, and Kapha is responsible for the structure, the strength, the immunity, and lubrication of our body. And those have very specific systems that they are connected with, etc.
And also, just so you all know, Pitta, Vata.
Yeah.
So
super important to know that.
Use examples in our own lives.
we have in our upper kind of lead circle, so to speak, many pittas. There's three of us that are pittas and only a couple of us that are vatas. And so the pittas are always talking about how hungry we are all the time. And the vatas are like, food? What's that? Yeah. So it's a bit, maybe I can, maybe not. Who knows? But disease doesn't, the dosha is the cause of disease, but disease happens in a specific location. It happens in either a dhatu, which is a tissue, or a shrota, or shrotamsi, which is the plural, which is, can be a vein or an artery or something like that, and also an organ system. But these three stages happen, they're part of a natural process. And so accumulation is when the qualities of a dosha are beginning to build. And then the aggravation stage is when the qualities of that particular dosha are at its peak. It's its most aggravated state. And then the alleviation are when the qualities finally get a little bit of a break with that dosha. So just to use a current example, right now we are in the springtime, and all of these things are affected by the season, by age, by the time of day, as well as the climate, which we were talking about. And just in the intro of this, talking about like, wow, it's a little harder when the sun isn't out, et cetera, that indicates sort of a state of aggravation. So right now we are in the spring and it's raining outside today. And so Kapha dosha, which is made up of earth and water, is in its most aggravated state. So it's natural at this time of year to feel a little bit more sluggishness, we're coming out of the winter. Winter is the stage of accumulation for Kapha. And so right now it's in its most aggravated state. And then we have, when the summer comes, Kapha will be alleviated. Mm-hmm. What is on deck, so to speak, right now in the springtime is Pitta. Pitta is the qualities are starting to build. In the summer, it's when Pitta is its most aggravated, when there's a lot of heat and there's a lot of overheatedness that happens. And then in the fall, Pitta gets alleviated. It's like, oh, thank God the heat is over and there's some coolness that's happening. That's why a lot of Pittas really love the fall. And the Vatas hate the fall because
I love the season.
Right, exactly. Yeah. But the climate and that time of year can have a really big impact on you.
And I was actually thinking about that with my job.
Yes.
And, my muggle job and how
my muggle job.
The fall is like that state of irritation. I'm like, that's when I go back to school.
Right.
It's like that's kind of where all of that shows up. And then I think about, okay, so kind of the stage of summer is where you're like getting ready and like having to think about going back to school. And the best time of the year for me is, May.
Right.
It's like, I know I'm getting out of school soon. So I was like, wow, that's really fascinating how my job literally works right with my doshic accumulation, aggravation, and alleviation.
1,000%. And it's an excellent example. And that's why we're just going to free you so that you don't even have to go through the aggravation stage, which we're pumping for, folks.
Yeah.
We're pumping for. But so then with Vata starts to accumulate. The qualities start to really develop in the summertime, and then in the fall it's very aggravated because of that dryness, because of that more mobile nature of the air, etc., because vata being made up of air and ether. And then in the springtime, things are much more alleviated. So like right now, you're like, hey, I'll deal with a little, wet kind of, warm, wet, muggy kind of, So.
And for everyone, winter doesn't really there's not really
It kind of split. It's split between early winter and late winter.
Yeah.
So vata is aggravated fall and early winter. And then kapha is aggravated the late winter into the spring.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. So winter's kind of a crossover between vata and kapha aggravation.
Perfect.
Yep.
All right. Love it.
And you gave an excellent example of how this applies in life.
Yeah.
Okay. Like we go through stages of accumulation, aggravation, and eventual alleviation. So what are the things that are accumulating in your life, in your relationships?
Yeah.
When and how do they hit an aggravation stage? And when and how do they get alleviated? And all of that has to do with the practices that we put in place we know that these are going to be natural stages. We are all going to be in a state of accumulating things. We're all going to get into a state of aggravation, and then we look for that beautiful release of alleviation.
And it's also the knowledge is power. So if you know that you're coming into the accumulation stage, it's doing the practices that will help alleviate that accumulation.
Yep.
Or when you know you're coming into an aggravation.
Yep.
For pittas in the summer, like the foods you eat, the practices, the things you take in, social media, things like that, those all have an impact. Physical body, the food body, those are all things that come into play.
And the physical body is where we experience all of those things most acutely, because it's like, oh my God, I feel uncomfortable, etc. Like during the summertime in the pitta season, I go outside. I feel like a vampire sometimes. I go outside between the early morning and then I'm kind of done by 11 a.m. And then I'm inside. It's like a duck and cover situation until probably about 6 o'clock at night.
When you think about in cultures where it's really hot,
Yes.
They're
inside
working in the afternoon. It's like they're just done.
Yes.
You see these poor construction workers here in Idaho. Out there 2 p.m. with their signs,
blazing heat,
baking. And it's like, why do we do that? I don't understand.
Because we don't pay attention, because society is doing its thing regardless of what's actually natural and supportive of people. So,
Yeah. Not that I want them up in the middle of the night, but
right.
Have a siesta.
Right.
In the afternoon. Sleep.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. So how these things, apply in society. So you had some thoughts. You were telling me about them this week.
Yeah. So I was thinking I had a couple, and I think we can probably only hit one.
That's okay.
At a time. So my main focus was societal behavior. So
yes.
And the two that I thought of was we seem to go from, we have but we have complacency, and then we have like cancel culture.
Yes.
We have, don't do anything, sit on the couch, play video games. It's okay to be 300 pounds plus. And, that, complacency of not working out and all of those things. And I think COVID exacerbated
it absolutely.
And then you go to the cancel culture. If you say anything that offends me or, do anything that offends me, like we've seen it in the Bud Light canceling, boycotting of Target. It's like we go to those two extremes and there's like no middle.
None.
And so that was one thing that I was thinking about to let you kind of riff on as to where you see the accumulation, the aggravation, the alleviation, because it's a big problem today.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Huge.
I love it. I absolutely love it. And there's so much to say about it. And right now it's very present, because it just seems like there's one thing after another. It's, the things that you just brought up. It's Bud Light. It is Target. It's Ford. It's, all of these things. And I think that the biggest piece when we look at accumulation, aggravation, and alleviation, we tend to toggle in society on that level, in this example, between the aggravation and the alleviation stage. And what's even interesting about the alleviation stage is that the alleviation only lasts for like nanoseconds. It's not even like a full cycle of alleviation. Like with the doshas and the seasons, you get a full season of alleviation. You know, you're looking at, 3 full months, maybe even a little bit more because we have sort of inner seasons as well. But where you just like, okay, I get to kind of rest and digest. Whereas in society with the complacency, cancel culture, the alleviation stage is not lasting very long. And so people are in a constant state of aggravation. And then what's happening is that whole accumulation phase is being completely skipped. And so it's like, well, why is the accumulation phase important? The accumulation phase is really important because that is where awareness happens. Like we are accumulating information, we're accumulating ideas and thoughts, and it gives us an opportunity, it is an opportunity for us to be able to sit with what it is that we are experiencing or observing. And we tend to skip that phase and just go straight for reaction.
Yeah.
And that's not helpful. The whole process of living an equal and balanced life is to have that time where we're like, okay, I'm experiencing the situation, call it with whatever it is, whether it's, whether you agree with what happened with Bud Light or not. I mean, and actually all of that is actually irrelevant.
Exactly.
It's completely and utterly irrelevant. It's not even about the content. It's about, okay, how can, and the owners of the means of production, yes, I did say that, the owners of the means of production are going to continue to just like, I'm going to keep hitting that karma button, or that samskara button to try to keep triggering. And what we have to do is we have to say, no, I'm gonna sit with this. And rather than like, oh, this is the enemy and choosing camps and all of that kind of stuff, really thinking about, okay, from this Ayurvedic perspective, because that's the life that we live, from this Ayurvedic perspective, what thoughtful things can I write down? How can I process this experience before immediately going to aggravation and then spending all of our ojas, our mojo, in that aggravated state to then get to a small, alleviation stage, which actually is not even alleviation these days. It's more like fatigue.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. What do you think?
No, I love it. I completely agree with that because it's like we do want to just fly off the handle, or it's just too much, and so we just give up. And zero it out. Yeah. And so, I think we are completely skipping the accumulation to where we're not taking in all sides of an issue, all perspectives of an issue. We just want to choose the one that our camp that we have decided on, and that's the one we're going to pick, and that's the direction we're going to go, which completely really takes us as an individual out of the equation and just says, I want to be with the group.
Exactly.
Because maybe that makes us feel alleviated.
It could.
Yeah. It could. Makes us, I feel better now because I've chosen this side and I can,
Yeah.
But just staying in that scenario.
The other part of that accumulation phase that you're touching on here, Praj, is that sometimes we don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
Like if we go through a thoughtful process, like everybody always feels like, especially in society now, that we have to react, we have to respond, we have to do something, etc. It's like, I got to get the I've got to respond to the text message, I got to, and I'm like crazed about that. And before you speak, decide whether or not it's an improvement upon silence. Like what Swami Kripalu says. Is it really that important? Is there any value? And sometimes I think that if we took time in the accumulation phase to just be like, okay, let me see, let me assess, etc. And sometimes I got nothing. Like, we don't have to respond to everything, because every time that we respond or feel like we have to respond or provoked to respond, et cetera, because that's really what it is. It's provocation.
Yeah.
That we're just expending so much of that energy in the wrong direction that you could be using of, like, working out, being in your garden, planning, cooking, and eating a lovely meal, spending time with your pets, spending time with your loved ones, with your partners, whatever the case is. Now, I'm not saying that, it's like la 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 la. Like, let me tune out and pretend that it's
complacency.
That absolutely,
The other side.
Completely the other side.
Yeah.
Which actually is a subtle form of aggravation. It's like, I'm tuning it out, but I'm knowingly tuning it out. And so therefore there's a subtle aggravation. It's not really like an alleviation.
Yeah.
It's avoidance.
Yeah.
So.
Or an ignorance.
Exactly.
Of an issue.
Yep.
Fascinating. Yeah. And I don't know if we want to go down this rabbit hole.
Go.
I think technology has made it 10 times worse, because we just have so many more opportunities to just fly off the handle and be quick with our answer. And again, it's no longer, only if you speak something and it's an improvement on silence. It's like only if you post something and it's an improvement on society.
Right.
If it's not an improvement, then
don't post it.
Yeah. It's just, if we're gonna extend all of that into technology, then if your post is not an improvement in anyone's life, then why
stop posting it.
It's very interesting.
It is. It really is. It really is. Was there anything else on that?
I think that was pretty much it.
Okay.
I love that.
I think it's a great way to look at it. So, what this brings us to, what we are going to institute as part of our podcast, is what we are considering the weekly woman warrior. And we are going to, for those of you that know us, especially in the Ayurvedic Woman program, we're always pulling oracle cards or tarot cards to see, what the setting is of the day. What is the topic of the day? So what we'll do is I'm going to move these papers out. Why don't you do a spread here? Why don't you do a spread, and we'll see what it is. This comes from mine and Prajna's personal favorite oracle deck, which is known as the Kali Oracle. And we'll use different decks. I was actually thinking of investigating some since it's my birthday weekend, so I figured, let me see if I can get a new oracle deck. And for those of you that think that this is all woo-woo and witchcraft, okay, that's fine.
It's fine too.
That's fine too. No big deal. So we're going to do that. So do you want to pick? You want to have the honors to pick?
Sure.
Okay.
I can pick.
All right.
Yeah, I know this seems probably a little woo-woo.
Yeah. No, we're feeling the energy. You got to feel it out. Absolutely.
I'd like to look at the one that kind of gets laid out oddly as well. It's always an interesting one. Matangi.
Oh. Let's see. What number is she?
24.
24. I'm not going to read the full thing because it's very, very long. But yep, there she is. Matangi. She's fabulous.
Glory.
24. I'll just read the small snapshot.
The reason why we like these so much is the artistry is just beautiful. So
it really is.
Who's it? Alana Fairchild.
Yep.
Beautiful work.
Okay. All right. This seems appropriate today. So Matangi, she is the tantric queen of outcasts, unveiling hidden inner power to thrive outside conventional society. You can't make this shit up.
No.
You can't. She holds the secret teachings of the power of the voice, of the healing power of art and music. Literally, this is our first podcast together, and here we are. She is the divine feminine medicine for the lost, the alienated, those who have been cast aside. If you have been denied love and respect, she brings healing and empowerment. If you have suffered rejection, abandonment, or been labeled as unworthy in any way, she brings dignity and repair. She is the ignition of a creative, joyful, and vibrant life path. Wow. All right, give me your thoughts. You got to give me some thoughts on this.
Alleviation. I mean, if you're feeling outcast, if you're feeling like, you've got some accumulation, aggravation, let this podcast be a little beacon into, moving forward into what you can do.
Absolutely.
Because that's really what we are all about is, female empowerment, really empowerment in general, but let's be honest, we're going to go with the women.
I'm putting my money on that one.
Yeah. We get shit done.
Yeah.
1,000%. It's, it's really just, for those who really need it right now.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why we're doing this.
Yeah.
Because we really do see a huge need in our society. Again, not just with women, but...
especially.
Yeah. And if women get active and moving in the right direction, a lot of shit's going to change. So,
Absolutely.
thoughts from you?
Well, I think she's awesome. She's totally green, and I dig it.
Yeah.
But I would say a lot of what it is that you have said. I mean, we're really trying to shift the paradigm here and move away from camps, moving away from what we were just talking about with, either like I'm in your camp or I'm not in your camp, and if I'm not in your camp, then I cancel you out, etc. This is the thing, like we got to give each other some grace, and all of us have at one point in time been somewhat had the wool pulled over our eyes, or just in a state of aggravation all the time that you can't think clearly. You just can't. And so, like, I think that this particular card, which is really pushing things in the positive direction, and I think all of us need to join that, need to be part of that, and ask questions. If you want to ask us any questions, or if there's a topic here it is that you want to discuss, you can email us at support@satyavanirising.com, or you can put a question in the comments here on the YouTube video. Or when this gets posted on Spotify, there actually is an area that I can put a question that says, hey, what do you want to, what topics do you want, et cetera, and people can respond to that as well.
Nice.
So it can be done via audio, it can be done YouTube, they can email, whatever. And we're going to have other guests on the show and talking about other stuff. And so, yeah, it's exciting.
And just to add on to that, the Ayurvedic, the basic idea behind what we are doing here is using the Ayurvedic principles to have a healthy body. We started out with talking about the koshas, which some of you may not. Oh, there's a squirrel in the background.
Yep, there is. Yep, we have squirrels that visit the house on a regular basis.
But just going through all of the koshas, we tend to start with this physical body.
Yes, we do.
And, what you have really tried to do and what you've taught me and what we're really trying to get out there is the healthy body, and taking care of this physical body that we have is so important, because it's
critical.
Really opens up the rest of it. And so if you're feeling out of sorts, physically, mentally, emotionally, like, that's why we're here.
Yes.
Is trying to get people back into alignment with themselves and their health.
Absolutely. I think we've allowed third parties to hijack our physical bodies on many different levels. And the more we start to take that power back, the healthier, more balanced we're going to be.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else?
You got a book coming out.
I do. I got a book coming out Sunday. It's coming out Sunday, June 11th, which is also my birthday. 49, baby. Yes. It's called From Pain to Power, and it will be available on Amazon on Sunday. But I think there's a group of us getting together to talk a little bit about it tomorrow. So we'll save it for that conversation. All right. Well, Jai Bhagwan, everybody. Jai Bhagwan. Jai Bhagwan to you.
Thank you so much for allowing me to be here.
Absolutely. And as always, gals, may your soul be victorious. Is life hard? Yeah, it's really fucking hard. And you can also have the life it is that you want. You just got to work for it.